I think people say, okay, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, this has to be an over, right? Look at these two defenses. These were two of the best defenses in the entire league last season, and I feel like we see more of the same. And plus, it feels like the game plan when you have a really good quarterback going against you, the game plan is to keep that quarterback off of the field. So I feel like we're going to see long, meticulous drives from both teams. And I think we see this one going under. This total set at a healthy 47. I think that's where my money will be.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think defenses are ahead of offenses at this point in the season, and it's tempted to go. You're tempted to go with the over when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. But honestly, with Hollywood Brown out of the lineup, then I think that's going to hurt the Chiefs a little bit. It's going to take some time for Xavier Worthy to sort of get integrated into that offense, even though I think he's going to be very good this season. And then conversely, what's the one thing that the Ravens want to do that they should have done last year in the playoff game against the Chiefs? Run the frickin' football. Run the ball. So, hand off to Derrick Henry. I know there's some issues on that Ravens offensive line. They replaced a couple of starters, so that's one of the question marks when it comes to Baltimore. But when they got away from the run game last year, they became a different team. They got away from their identity. So I think that if you hand the ball off to Derrick Henry, and he's accustomed to running behind a makeshift line, I think the Ravens line will be better than the Titans line for sure. He'll find a way that will slow things down and eat some time off the clock. And you mentioned the trends when it comes to primetime unders. So, and let's not forget, by the way, last year, these were two top 10 defenses. That's the real key here. So I like the under as well.
Yeah, I think the other way to play this is I was looking at Isaiah Pacheco over his rushing attempts, which means it doesn't really matter how many yards he gets, because I still respect this Ravens run defense, even though I think they were better at going against the pass. But I feel like for Pacheco, it feels like he is the only running back who is getting most of the carries this year. Because remember, for a while it was Jerick McKinnon who was taking away some of the carries, but he's not even on the team this year. And Pacheco has cemented himself as that dog behind the line of scrimmage for the Chiefs. And plus, you look at this last matchup against the Ravens in the postseason, he ran it 24 times. Now, granted, that game it wasn't a blowout, but it was the Chiefs trying to hold on to a lead. So maybe that's the sabotage factor. Jenks, do you think the Ravens will be leading this game? Because I think these two bets are kind of a little bit correlated. You almost need the Chiefs to jump out to an early lead if you want Pacheco to be able to run the ball.
Yes, I agree with that. I'm honestly kind of on the other side. I think I like the Ravens here, and all of my bets are correlated maybe in a different way. So I think we see a low-scoring game. I like the Ravens and the points. I get a little bit worried when I see the majority of the money on one side, but you never really know. It's not overwhelming. I really believe Derrick Henry is the key here, and I don't think he's lost a step at all. I think he has something to prove. I think if there's any running back who can defy his age, as we've seen over time, it's Derrick Henry, and it's not like he's a 40-year-old guy. And also, I love the Ravens as dogs. I feel like this is when they thrive. Remember last year, they were an underdog, went out to San Francisco, and just mollywopped the Niners? Lamar Jackson in the regular season as an underdog is 12-0-1 as a dog in the regular season. I mean, this is very Baltimore, right? Blue collar, let's run the football. You don't believe in us. When they're favorites, I don't like them as much. I think this is when they thrive, and it just feeds into my idea that we'll see a low-scoring affair where the Ravens are able to keep it within 3. Maybe they win outright. I know a lot of money is on Ravens' money line, plus 125. I'm going to go Baltimore. I like the under better, but I like Baltimore in the points.
I think if this game looks like a coin flip, which to me it does, that means you take the points, right? Especially when it's at a field goal. And last time I checked, don't the Ravens still have Justin Tucker, one of the best active kickers in the NFL? So I feel like that can be a difference maker in some of these games that are tightly contested. So I think I would be with you on the Ravens. Maybe it's a good spot, to throw them in a teaser. I love my teasers. If you can get them up to 9, I think that's a solid play. But for me, I think I'm going to stick with the under and maybe looking at that Isaiah Pacheco prop, because I'll say this, even if the Ravens are winning, I still think we will see a healthy dose of the run game in the first game of the season for the Chiefs. Like you mentioned, Hollywood Brown is going to be out for this one. Xavier Worthy is still kind of learning the ropes here. So I feel like you depend on the run game more than nothing, and especially when you're trying to keep Lamar Jackson off the field. So, 14 and a half is a pretty low number. He hit this in every single game of the postseason when he was really ramping up. So I think I'm going to stick with Pacheco here. Are there any other guys that you think are in store for a big night? You mentioned Derrick Henry. I'm not sure what his props are, but it just sucks because he's competing with carries for carries with Lamar Jackson.
He is, but also this goes right into my next play, and I saw this and did a little research, but I'm going to go Lamar Jackson under 31 and a half passing attempts at minus 105. And so all of these I feel like correlate, right? I'm going with the under. The Ravens keep it close. They keep it on the ground, and Lamar Jackson doesn't pass as much. And I just keep going back to that game last season. If I'm Baltimore, I'm haunted by that playoff game. Like, I'm still blown away that they decided to have Lamar pass again and again and again, and they had the number one rushing offense in the National Football League. Like, why in the world? You blew it. Why are you getting away from what got you there? And there's a difference between showing some wrinkles and being creative and getting away from your identity. And they got away from their identity. And now I think with Derrick Henry at running back, the Ravens will get back to what they do, which is let's set up the pass, let's set up Lamar by running the frickin' football.
Total set at 47, just because, both these defenses are still very, very stout, and it's the first game of the year. But is there anything you're seeing here, whether it's a total, whether it's a key player that you think is going to be big tonight for the Ravens? What are you looking at here?
Yeah, I'm with you guys on the under. Historically, week one games in general go under, especially over the past couple of years. Ravens, you go back to their season opener last year, they didn't play anybody in the preseason for the most part. They had a really slow first half against the Texans last year. And I think points, it will be a low-scoring game. One prop that I'm really keeping an eye on tonight, and I don't think that you're going to get it better, I think Isaiah Likely is going to have a big, big year for the Ravens. And right now you can get his over yardage at just 15 and a half, minus 115. Over 1.5 receptions is minus 140. I think Isaiah Likely, for whatever reason, his first 2 years, they haven't been able to get him activated when Mark Andrews has been healthy. He had a really good run last second half of the year when Andrews was out. They have really focused on having 2 tight end sets, getting heavier, and activating Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews while they're both healthy together. And I think it's one of, if not the best 1-2 punches at tight end. I think that number is very, very low, and I would jump all over the 15 and a half.